Welcome to That Girl Club. We're your hosts, Kristina and Katarina, and we're here to empower you on your journey to becoming that girl in every aspect of your life. Join us as we dive deep into inspiring conversations with influential entrepreneurs and experts, sharing their insights and strategies to help you thrive. From navigating the struggles of womanhood to launching your dream business and everything in between, we've got you. So buckle up. You are about to discover what it really means to be that girl. Welcome to the club. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to another episode with your girls, That Girl Club.
Yeah, welcome to Meet Your Hosts episode.
We're really excited to talk about who we are. I feel like we need to give you guys a good backstory on us and just who we are as people. Like, who the fuck is Katarina? Who is Kristina, right?
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking the other day too, and there's so much about you I didn't know yet either, and vice versa.
And I think we need to tell the story that happened last night. So to be completely honest with you guys, like, obviously this is our first time doing a podcast. Like, we rebranded it, we're doing the podcast, and it's just been a lot. It's been a struggle.
It's been a fun struggle.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle.
But I feel like we're becoming very technical, which is great because that's something that we never were good at before.
Oh, we have a career in tech, like in IT, if this fails.
Maybe you do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. Or DJs. We're going to be DJs.
Yeah, we know how to do GarageBand. And by the way, GarageBand is not user-friendly. So it's just something to note for future if ever you need to use GarageBand.
Yeah. It's funny, we got that question on Instagram as well. Like, did you girls struggle with the tech stuff? Like, how did you set up?
Yeah, and we're like, we'd love to say that it was easy, but it wasn't. It was a struggle.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
but we're here.
Yeah, we're figuring out. We're
like
the damn thing. We're becoming that girl.
Yes, we are.
I love it. Okay, so yeah, we have to tell you guys. So last night we came here and set up. We were like done at like 11 o'clock. We were like, freaking busting our balls trying to figure it out. And we were supposed to have one of our guests today was supposed to be a psychic and neurologist. She couldn't have because she's sick. So we have to reschedule her because it's going to be a really fun episode to get into all the woo-woo shit. But we came here last night and we started talking about numerology because we're prepping for our episode. Okay, we're going to dive into like numerology.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, at some point we were delirious last night, like after all the prep and the moving shit and whatnot. So we're like, okay, well, let's look at our life path numbers. Like, we want to be prepped for this episode. And so we asked ChatGPT because, like, what do you do nowadays?
No, literally, I'm not kidding. I ChatGPT everything. It's up well.
Yeah. So I calculated our life path numbers, and we checked both of them on ChatGPT, and it was describing us to the T. We were like, yes, check for you. Yes, check for me.
But it was saying all this stuff about like really positive shit about women. It was like, you're a born natural leader, like you're
you're saying mine now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you were life path 10 whatever, and it was saying like the best stuff about her, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is so you. What else was it saying?
Yeah, it was a hype girl.
You're like
leadership, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Natural born leader.
And
independence,
yes. And then it was also saying
creative stuff as well.
Yes. And then we plugged in. So then we did mine. We'll go into mine. Yeah. We did mine. I was like path number 5.
Yeah.
It was very like, you're very vibrant, charismatic. I'm like, thank you so much.
Sure you are.
But then thank you. And then it also said I'm very like free spirited, impulsive. Like, it obviously tells you like the shit about yourself that like
there's the good and the bad.
Exactly. And then we asked ChatGPT what career path is good for those life path numbers. And guys, Katarina's
picturing last night.
I was literally on the floor. You were getting the best ones. It was like,
I'm sorry.
It was like consulting. You're going to be the CEO of a company. I mean, like, she basically is, but like, I was like, okay, this is bang on. Like, it was so like motivational.
I was like, wow, ChatGPT, we should talk more often.
And then we get to mine, and before we even fucking plug it in, I'm already like, okay, it said I was like free spirited. I like to travel, stuff like this.
Yeah, Kristina was like, I'm really scared. Like, what's this thing going to tell me right now? Is it going to tell me I'm a tour guide or something.
No, like I actually was like, I think it's gonna tell me that I intuitively, it's like I knew. I was like, I think it's gonna tell me, like, I'm like, is it gonna give me like fucking tour guide or zookeeper, like some shit? Like, cause it just made me sound like I was the most like chaotic person in the world.
You guys, we asked it, and the first thing that came up was travel and tourism. You would excel in something like a tour guide.
I'm not kidding you. I was on the floor, rolling like.
Okay, but you
like
also, then the next one was also like all the good stuff, like the creative and the marketing and
it did say flight. It said tour guide, which like, okay, great. I'm hopefully not going to be a tour guide. And then it said flight attendant. And I was like, okay, I actually was a flight attendant, which we will get into that for sure.
Yeah.
I was a flight attendant, and then as I'm on the floor rolling around,
and she actually
my shit
fell off her chair, guys. I'm not kidding. I have video evidence of Kristina on the floor. We couldn't breathe. We could not breathe.
Times when you laugh with your best friend and you're just like,
belly
it feels
bobbing.
so good, and you're just like, this is so fucking funny. I think it's hilarious. And then I said to Katerina, as I'm like I said on the floor, I'm like, tell me there's hope for me. Like, keep scrolling. Tell me there's more, because it gave you like, I don't know, 7 different things.
Yeah,
and
each got like 7.
She goes, wait, I'm getting there. She goes, okay, no, it says it says entrepreneurship too.
Yeah, I'm like, you have it too. We're good.
I'm like, okay, so like, I'm gonna survive. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it, guys. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Oh, it was hilarious. So anyways, we just had to tell that backstory because you had to be there, but it was fucking hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. Okay, let's get into my story.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Meet your host, Kristina.
Meet Kristina. Hello, guys. As you know, I am a part-time tour guide now. What do you want to know about me?
Yeah, let's do it, baby. I want to know, like, back to the beginning. Tell me about Kristina in London, Ontario, then moved to Toronto.
Yeah.
I feel like there's, you know how it said, like, you have variety in your career and stuff too. Like, I feel like there is a lot of that. You've gone through different roles and different experiences. So
yes, because I definitely like change. As much as like change can be scary, I think I embrace it, and I think that I do get
you're adaptable.
Yeah,
you are very.
Like, throw me into a situation.
Yeah,
and it's like, never done this before, but like we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So like, can be a blessing and a curse.
Oh, it is a blessing.
Right?
Yeah,
sometimes. And so anyways, I grew up in London, Ontario. If you've never been to London, I mean, I don't see why you would come to London. There's really nothing that exciting about it. No hate on my hometown, but like, there's not a lot going on there. But I grew up in London. I was there for, I don't know, I guess my whole life until I hit like age, I don't know, like 19, 20. And I was working at Aritzia, right? I was in my like Aritzia era. And I
didn't even know that about you.
Yeah, see? So that's the rise in the food. And so I was working at Aritzia, and I just always felt like I wasn't gonna stay in London. Like, something in me, I even would say to like people that I knew, I was like, I'm not gonna meet my husband here. I just was like, no, like I didn't vibe with it. I had a really hard time in high school too. I think I probably told you some of this stuff, but like I had a hard time with girls. Still do to this day. It's hard, right? It's tough. And I feel like people wouldn't give me the time of day. They wouldn't get to know me. They would just judge me immediately off of my appearance. And I think that it's something that has definitely, you know, like messed with me now, like in my older life.
Yeah, because younger we take it as rejection when it's like sometimes a projection of everyone's own insecurity, but...
Exactly. And so I always felt like I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to stay in London. I was bored. I'm like, what am I going to do with my life, right? And so at the time, I remember I was at dinner with my dad, and I'm like, I need to take a leap. I need to do something. Like, so I was getting this like awakening. Like, I mean, this happens to me like every
the time.
I'm like, something needs to happen here. And
the amount of cliffs I need to talk you off of, but proceed.
Talk to my boyfriend Matt. He'll say the same thing. Talking me always off the ledge, but yeah, I wanted to go to Australia. I was like, let's go to Australia. I'm gonna like just live the life. I'm young. I'm gonna work there, figure it out. And my dad is very much like supportive in that way, right? Like he's very much like take the leap, like take the risk, like fuck it, you only live once kind of vibes. my mom was like, no, that's not happening. But my dad was like, let's fucking go. So that's why I immediately talked to Scotty about it. And so instantly I'm like, okay, let's do it. So my dad, we can get the working visa, okay? Like I paid $500 for this working visa. I'm like applying to all these jobs in Australia. My parents are like, let's book the flights tonight. Like everything's happening, right? And so I'm at the gym.
Wait, I'm gonna go to Australia, like no plan, no job.
Oh yeah,
nothing.
fully. Yeah. Yeah, I know. My dad's like, she'll be fine. She'll figure it out. My mom's like, this is not a good. My mom's very logical, right? She's like the voice of reason.
She's gonna end up on the streets.
Yeah, literally. Well, there's no way I would end up on the street, maybe, but they weren't too worried. My dad was not worried, right? He's like, Christina's, very capable. She'll figure it out. I'm like, I'll serve. I'll do whatever, right? So I get a roommate, everything. Like everything is ready to go, and I'm on the treadmill. This just kind of goes into what we were talking about, like the
intuition
shit, right? And just like your life can really change, right? Depending on what decisions you make. And I think that every decision leads us to a different path, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm on the treadmill and I get an email. And for context, months before this, like I'm talking like 8 months before this, I applied to be a flight attendant, okay? To like multiple airlines. And I thought nothing of it at the time. I was just like, oh, this would be fun. People were like, oh, you'd make an amazing flight attendant. I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I would. Again, I was young, right? In my young era, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do with my life.
Well, and also it came with travel and opportunity.
Yeah, which we know
experience.
I really like.
Yeah, I see why it was attractive.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I am on the treadmill. Like I said, I get this email and it's Porter Airlines requesting to have an interview with me. And I'm like, holy shit. I like stop in my tracks, like fucking fly off the treadmill. I'm like calling my parents. I'm supposed to book my flights to Australia that night.
Yeah, if that's not a sign,
right?
I don't know what is.
And I always I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning, but I always wanted to move somewhere, whether it was Toronto, like I wanted to.
You just needed out. You felt out.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm a big city girl. I need to experience like something different than this small city where everyone knows everyone and I'm not vibing, right?
Right.
So I get to, I open my phone, whatever. I go to the email, I call my parents and I tell them, I've got this interview. And my dad's like, okay, let's put Australia on a little pause.
Right, of course.
Let's go through the interview process because he knew it was something that I really wanted to do and explore. And so it was one of those things where once I went through the process and I was trying to figure out somewhere to live, it was like the pieces were falling into place. Like, it was like it was like this apartment came up with these girls that like I kind of knew through some, like, again, all the pieces were sort of fitting. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is a sign. Like, maybe I'm not supposed to do the whole Australia thing.
I feel when it's that easy and it's falling together almost too easily, that's when you know it's aligned because it's like meant for you.
Yes, or it's meant to change your path.
Yeah.
And I think that at that time, I thought that I really wanted to go live in Australia, but now that I didn't,
you're on the other end.
Yes, I did something else. I'm like, you know what? I actually don't think I would have been able to like be away from my family in that sense. And like I've had all these things happen since then that I feel made me stay there and grounded me to stay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so after, and then so I moved to Toronto. I started working for Porter. I was probably, 22 years old. And so funny because last night when you and I were chatting,
that was like 2019, right?
We both discovered that we were actually in Toronto.
We both got to Toronto in 2019.
Yeah, and we probably crossed paths.
Well, yeah, because I was working corporate at the time. Work actually brought me, we'll get into the story, but I was on Porter all the time, going back and forth between Montreal and Toronto to see my family or to get to work and back.
I was probably
your
stewardess.
Yeah, you're probably
I probably served you.
I'm super polite, so that's why you don't remember me because I wasn't a problem client.
No, you were exactly. Or I was like half asleep because they're calling you at fucking 4 a.m. and you're like not well.
No, or not.
Not to make you guys feel safe, but like that's the reality. That's the gist. But yeah, so moved to Toronto. I was there for, total Toronto, I was there for about 4 years, give or take. But I was only at Porter for about 1.5 years because COVID hit. Remember that? Under COVID?
Oh, I do.
Good times. And COVID hit, so I was in the city sometimes. I was back with my parents. And so I was living there half like part-time there, part-time in my condo in Toronto, but nobody wants me in a condo in Toronto in the middle.
Oh,
like,
no, same. I was like constantly escaping because what are you going to do by yourself in four walls?
Literally 500 square feet. Like, what am I going to do, right? And so, but during that time, I feel like COVID really made me realize how much I didn't want to be doing the flight attendant thing anymore. As much as I had a good time and like I have all the stories in the world, like it was super fun. And I was in my single girl era too, so it was really fun to be able to like do that.
Get on a flight. Yeah.
Like,
no like commitment.
Yeah.
But what about COVID? Was it just realizing you didn't want to be like out and about in different cities all the time traveling? Like why did that? Obviously airlines shut down. But what about that made you realize it wasn't for you? Just like the time to process?
I think it was even kind of before COVID even happened that I was starting to realize it was too much on my body. Like I lost my period for a full year. Was at it because you're under so much stress and your body is constantly not knowing. Like I didn't have any structure, right?
So your hormones are off.
So off.
I don't know if the flying affects it too, but
I think it probably does because of the altitude. I think that can affect
so.
It can affect a lot of things.
I know it like delays or like, you know, when you're traveling, but I'm constantly being up in the air.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's crazy.
It was a lot, and I just wanted to be on the ground, and I wanted to have something that gave me more structure, more stability, which kind of I feel like makes sense for me that I would crave that to a degree and kind of need that to balance me out because I can be so free-spirited and impulsive that I sometimes need that to kind of keep me in check, you know?
Sometimes, because I think we both have this, we're both like I have a lot of like wanderlust too, and I need to go and have adventures, and I think that's more of a Sagittarius thing, but I feel that. But then we're too much of the wind. Like we're like a kite flying. Like you need to reel us in sometimes to feel grounded and to feel stable.
Yes.
Because we do a good enough job of like constantly new ideas and new experiences and new this.
Exactly.
That's not what you can necessarily build on. Like you do need that discipline and that structure to continue to build on.
I agree. It's like we both have that creativity in us, but like to your point, you need that foundation, you need that structure. So I think that's why it's important to have certain people in your life too, which we can get into as well. But so after COVID, or during COVID, I should say, I ended up kind of falling into recruitment. I won't get into that story. It's kind of a long story of how it all happened. But again, it kind of fell into my lap. I didn't really go looking for it. It just kind of happened. And I am going to love working with people. I love talking to people. So it seemed like a really great career for me. I started with a big firm in Toronto. I was remote, of course, because during COVID times.
Yeah, we're talking about intuitive things or falling into our lap. In comparison to now, like I don't want to keep jumping back and forth, but I feel like you're more intentional about the decisions now versus like things falling into your lap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like now looking back, would you have done the recruiting again?
I don't want to say that I wouldn't have done it. I think I still would have done the recruitment because I believe that it led me to my future other endeavors. But all of that to say, I think that I am more intentional with my decisions now. And I think that what it's taught me is that things don't always just fall into your lap. I have been lucky with certain things kind of just coming my way and opportunities presenting themselves.
But you also work hard and you're a freaking go-getter. Like you go out there.
Thanks.
So it's not just luck, but I understand where you're going with that.
Yeah, and I think it taught me to be more that way. I think I am more of a go-getter now, and I make shit happen now because I'm like, you have to make opportunities happen. They're not always going to come your way. They're not always going to fall into your lap. You can't always rely on your personality or this and that, because I think I have relied on those things a lot, to be honest.
Well, and not everything that comes your way is the best option too, right? Like
exactly. It's like you don't have to say yes to that thing, right? And so I ended up getting, again, another opportunity that just came my way. I got a message on LinkedIn from my former boss, from a different agency, smaller, more boutique firm. I was like, okay, I like this. This makes more sense for me to advance my career in recruitment if that's what I want to do. I was working with tech startups. I was working with founders, CEOs. I feel like I learned a lot from working with these very like innovative, you know, people who are out there, they're starting their companies from scratch or helping them build their teams. Like it was pretty cool, right? Like,
sure.
You know, I look back, I'm like, that was cool. And I had another experience come my way, and it was within, you know, like the beauty industry, like aesthetics. Like I love that.
Yeah, right in your wheelhouse.
Right up my alley, right? Yeah. And I was super excited about it, and the job required me to move back to Toronto. So for context, I was living in Toronto half the time and then living in Ottawa half the time with my remote, you know, recruitment job. Mm-hmm. And as much as I loved it, it was great. I loved the girls I worked with. Like we were super tight. My boss was like amazing. We still talk to this day. I felt that something was calling my name to do that. It was a great offer. Like I didn't want to pass it up.
Yep.
And it was, like I said, in an industry that I was really, really
a little bit more passionate about. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And it was working with people and in person, which I was kind of ready to get back to. I'd been like behind the computer screen for so long. Mm-hmm. And in that whole time frame, I had started Yow Girl Club. I had started this business, which is now That Girl Club, for context for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with, you know,
may have missed our little intro there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had started that. I was doing events. My business was taking off because I really feel that I was sort of that first person in Ottawa to really start doing the in-person stuff. Like since COVID, like people were
ready to go. Yeah, everyone was dying to get to like a social event again.
Exactly. And girls were ready to meet other people. Everyone was just ready. Everyone was like, this is so cool. Like Ottawa has never had something like this before because Ottawa is very spread out. It's not super connected. During that time, I got the job with the, you know, aesthetics company in Toronto, and they're like, we need you to move back. And as much as I wanted to move back to Toronto, I'm like, well, closer to my family, closer to my friends who I thought were my friends, right? Yeah. And I wasn't dating anybody in Ottawa. I had ended my relationship. I was out here alone. I had my own place, and I really struggled with making that decision.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of the time frame where we were like trying to connect. Remember, we kept like missing each other. And we both were.
And that's when you reached out to me. I was kind of like, hold on a second, because I don't know what I'm doing here and where I'm going. And so that's the thing. It was like, do I put Yow Girl on hold? Do I take the job? It's making big decisions like that is so fucking hard. And
stressful.
And nobody can tell you what the right answer is. I think I kept looking for people to tell me what the right decision was, but you have to, that's where intuition comes in. You have to listen to your gut. You have to listen to that inner voice telling you what feels good and what doesn't.
Yeah, definitely. It's stressful because I'm an overthinker. So
same.
For me, it's like, oh my God, but if I make the wrong decision, my whole life is ruined, right? Which is so dramatic and so not true. And, sometimes you just gotta like roll with it. You pick one, that's the right one because that's the one you felt like choosing.
Exactly. And so I ended up taking the job. I was ready to make the move to Toronto. I was working with a realtor. I was trying to figure everything out to get back to Toronto. And the market was just so crazy. It was so difficult for me to secure a place. I'm living in Ottawa. I'm taking on this new job that I knew nothing about, right? I'm working the job. I'm trying to shadow. I'm trying to do all these things. I'm trying to go on the road because it was an on-the-road job.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? There were so many moving parts.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even find my condo in Toronto. Like my realtor was, working day and night to try and find me something. Every single time I was like, okay, this is the one. I like this one.
It was gone. Yeah.
So it was like stars weren't aligning.
Oh, okay. So I was just going to say, like, the Toronto market is like that. I remember when I was first moving there too. But to your point, like, look how easy it was the first time where things align versus everything kind of standing in your way being like, no, this isn't what you're meant to do.
Exactly. And I think that's how I was taking it. I was taking it like, I think I struggled though. I was like, am I having a hard time because I'm just psyching myself out? I'm fearful and having, self-doubt. But every time I went back to Toronto, something there didn't feel right. I remember calling my parents when I went there to go do some showings and go on the road and shadow. And I'm like, this job seems great, but I don't know if I see myself living here again.
Yeah.
I don't know that I wanted to really be in the thick of downtown Toronto. When you know how it is. When you've lived there, you've done that, you either love it or you don't.
Or you outgrow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I felt that I had outgrown it. I'd been in Ottawa for like almost 2 years at that point. I established my own business here. I felt like I was just starting to make friends. I was just
starting to like form your life here.
I was just starting to get grounded. I remember I was out for dinner with a girlfriend. I even said that to her. She's like, oh my God, I think you're going to be moving. And I'm like, I was just establishing this friendship with you. I feel like I was just starting to plant my roots. And that was something that I wanted so badly. I wanted to plant my roots so badly because I never felt like I belonged in London. I never felt that I like belonged in Toronto. Like I felt that I was having that sense of belonging here, or at least starting to.
Yeah.
And it was refreshing. And I'm like, fuck. Now I
gotta go again.
Up and leave again. Like guys, I have moved so many fucking times. I'm like,
girl,
oh man, I'm gonna move again. Right?
Yeah.
And like I just didn't want to do it again almost. And I called it quits. So long story short, because we could be at this all day, but long story short, I said, I don't think this is for me. I think I'm just going to go back to my other job. You know, stars weren't aligning. They needed me to be there by X date. It wasn't working out. HR were starting to get not happy about
annoyed
it.
with you that you weren't going to Toronto.
Exactly. And it wasn't my fault because I couldn't get there, but also there was something in me that didn't want to do it, right? For whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I ended up staying in Ottawa. I thought I was going to be able to go back to my, you know, recruitment job or work from home, you know, doing the thing. And I unfortunately am not able to. So I had to recalibrate. For context, like as you know, but for anyone who's listening that doesn't know, I don't have any family here. My parents are 7 hours away. I didn't have a lot of friends here at the time. I had a few that I was able to get on during that time.
You were just starting out.
Yeah, exactly. I was just starting out. And it was really scary. I had a moment where I kind of said, what the fuck did I just do? You know, I instantly regretted it.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people experience that. There's that one moment, and it's so funny because when we're younger, we're studying or we're this or that, we think those are the defining moments, and they're not. Like, there's always a defining moment later on. There's like so many people pivot, so many people change or outgrow certain experiences, and what we think we want at like 20 is day and night to what we want at 28, 29, 30. Right? So I think those are the moments that you grow from the most. Those like, what the fuck did I just do?
100%. And I think that I have grown a lot since then. And has it been pretty? No, it hasn't been pretty, you know, and it's had its up and down moments, but I always, part of my wanting to stay here was because I established Girl at the time. I established this company.
Yeah.
And I was sad to leave it all behind. I was sad to be like, I built this thing. I spent all this time, this energy, and I'm just going to be like, well, that's it. It's over with. And something in me wanted to keep going and keep pushing.
And you were right. You were right too.
Yeah. And here we are. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I should say we, because you're part of the team now, right? Like you're doing this with me, like it's our company now, which I'm so happy about, obviously, but it's like, we still don't have all the answers. We still don't have it figured out, but
I mean, there's a bit more light in that tunnel for you, right? Like at the time you were struggling, you didn't exactly know why you wanted to stay here, and it wasn't clear what the future of Girl was going to be. It wasn't clear what your future was going to be here. I think a lot more of those puzzle pieces have kind of fallen into place for you. So,
I think so too.
But but that Girl Club now is our baby, and we're working on it.
We're working on it. We're the damn thing. And with that being said, you know, kind of just what you said about all the puzzle pieces coming together, like I feel that now where I'm at in my life, I was chasing Toronto for so long after that experience, and I'm like, shit, I went back. I had all my friends. I was close to my family. I would have had this job that paid me all this money. I would have been fine. You know, and I beat myself up for so long. Yeah. And now when I think about it, it's kind of like the mindset shift, right? It's like, okay, am I where I want to be financially, career-wise, all these things? Maybe not yet. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm. But am I so happy that I made that decision in the sense of the relationships that I've built and the growth that I've gone through?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah. And it toughened you up.
Oh my God. It's totally toughened me up and just made me realize that I do have to work hard for the things that I want. They're not always going to fall into my lap. And if I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to do this thing, right, I need to grind. I need to hustle. And I've definitely, had to do things that I haven't wanted to do necessarily. And not everything's fucking pretty. Like, fuck.
As you said that, I was like picturing us like scrubbing the wall.
Okay, why was I doing the same thing? Yeah, like when we're cleaning toilets.
Like, I have to do things I don't want to do. Yeah. Coming here looking all pretty, we think we're getting right into it. No, we're scrubbing the floors and walls. It's okay.
It's fine. We're not actually, for context, but you know what I mean. I know. And but I'm so grateful because I think, again, it's like narrative switch, right? And like mindset shift. It's like, I'm in this relationship now, my partner, obviously, and I never would have met him if I didn't stay here.
Yeah.
Right? And I was going through such a hard time at the time, and it took me time to find him. I'm not saying like, oh, I ended the job thing, and then, next week I met him. Like, no, it doesn't work like that, you guys, right? Like, but I met you. Yeah. And you are literally my best friend now. You're my business partner. We're so aligned. But you know what I mean? It's like we met each other and I met Matt, which is amazing. And all of these things have just come into my life. I feel like at the right time. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. So, hopefully, and I don't know what episode number I'm going to be saying this, but hopefully that's the episode number where it's like, okay, the business
was why.
is strong. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is why, right? But
Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, we'd really appreciate if you could like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at It's That Girl Club to stay in the loop with your girls and join us in becoming that girl. See you next Wednesday.